Thanks. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our final TSM meetup. Thank you so much for being here. My name is David Trelevin. If I haven't, I imagine I've met many of you, you know who I am. I am wearing a black t-shirt, dark hair, in a room with one painting in the background for our visually impaired friends. And I'm honored. I'm really excited to get to be here. I feel nervous. I've had a whole morning of just sitting with what I wanted to say, and I've been just feeling a lot of feelings of the shift of this community and around this meetup. And was just talking to Tyler. We've been doing this now for 2.5 years, I think, together. Meeting early in the morning, just being on here. So really grateful that you're here. Thanks for coming. Mostly this session is a way to say thank you, and also to open space to answer questions and also hear your reflections. But really, I just wanted the chance to be with you all from my heart. That email that I wrote announcing the shift was really tricky. I was trying to find the right words, and just to have the chance to be here with you all feels great. So thanks for coming. You might be watching the recording as well. We'll just say a couple things to set up this session, and then we'll practice just as a way to land. So this is really, there's a light structure here, and here's what we're thinking. I'm going to share a little bit about the shift that I felt called to make with TSM, and then we'll have a period of answering any questions that you might have about what's next or anything that I haven't addressed. And then we wanted to have a period of just speaking appreciation or just hearing a little bit about what TSM has meant for you. I mean, this is, to me, a big part of mindfulness practice is learning to be with endings and how to end well, which has been the intention inside of this work, is just to have a trauma sensitive closing with you all, where we all get to be in dignity and integrity with each other, and that there's room for any feelings that are here. So that's the whole point, really, is to end well and give you a chance to say, well, what needs to be said? Because I think all of us, it's helpful to be able to have that chance to share. So some of you, you're welcome to come on. Tyler will be coordinating it, as he'll talk about it. And I want you to know anything that comes into the chat. I won't be reading it now, but we'll definitely be reading it later. So yeah, that's the proposed structure. We'll practice, I'll say a couple things, open it to questions, and then have some time for reflections. And then we'll end. It could be early, might be a little bit later if people want to stay on longer. So I think that's the main thing I wanted to share. Tyler, do you want to jump in? Anything you want to share?
Sure. Yeah, always so glad to be with you all. So grateful to be able to complete together. I'm Tyler. I'm wearing a brown shirt and I have brown hair and a brown beard and a white cabinet with paintings behind me. So yeah, really glad to be with you all. I'll be here doing tech stuff and receiving questions as we go along. You can chat those directly to me or in the group chat, and I'll invite you to come on if you'd like to ask your question if we get to them. And finally, I just wanted to mention that we often do breakout rooms after this. And we decided that today, because we just really want to hold the container and complete well, we're not going to do that today. So we'll just stay here as a large group the whole time. Thanks so much. And yeah, back to you, David.
We also, Todd, you want to talk about pro bono?
Oh, right. Yeah, thank you for the reminder. Usually we also have ASL interpreters here, and unfortunately there was a last minute breakdown with them and they weren't able to bring on interpreters for today. So apologies for that as well.
Thanks, Tyler. Yeah, so if and when we get to that point in the call where if you want to share anything about your experience or speak appreciation, or you're welcome to chat it into the main chat. You can also just chat Tyler directly as well if you just say like, hey, I'd love to say something. So we'll try to get as many people on as we can. Okay, why don't we sit for a second? Just take a moment and practice together. So Tyler, thanks for holding the tech, and just invite everyone here to Find a posture you'd like to be in. You can have your eyes open or closed here. And taking a moment just to settle in here. Could be the beginning of your day or the end. And if you'd like, you could take a couple of deeper breaths here, filling the lungs, perhaps a pause at the top, and gentle, longer exhale. A couple of regulating breaths as a way to support presence. You could also feel touch points with the ground, like buttocks in the chair, feet on the ground. If it's helpful, you could also orient to your current surroundings, knowing what time of day it is, for example. Being aware of the soundscape, just letting the nervous system orient both externally and internally to arrive in the present. Taking a moment here just to notice what's present for you. This quality of self-regulation, awareness of what's happening. So that could be tracking your energy as you come to this session. Could also notice your mood. Endings can bring up a lot of different emotions, and seeing what's here for you. Maybe it's neutral. Maybe there's gratitude or disappointment, whatever's here. And however you're arriving, just seeing if you can recognize that. And whatever you find here, seeing if you can bring a quality of agreement. There's some allowing happening. Not trying to change your experience here. Just a few purposeful moments of being exactly with what is. And then finally invite you to reflect on the inspiration for being here in this final session, whether you're here live or watching the recording. What prompted you to want to join? And if you'd like, you could also begin to reflect on ways that the TSM work has impacted you, the role that it's played for you, whether small or big. Starting to bring that to mind and heart, the way the work has shaped you. Knowing we're coming into a transition together, but of course this work will continue. And then in the next few breaths, we're going to start shifting from this practice. So whatever will support that, a little bit of movement, a couple of deeper breaths, just taking your time here. And then we'll come together. Okay, thanks everyone. So I want to say a couple things. You will have seen my email. And people that know me know I like to have a pretty big script. I mean, I try to go off the cuff with the community, but usually I have some sense of what I'm going to say. And I actually have no idea what I want to say. I just practiced a lot this morning, tried to get really present. And I want to tell you a little bit about why I'm making the change, but mostly what I want to say is just thank you. This has been the most incredible, like 15 years, 3 years. I never thought this would have happened. I remember doing a meetup. I saw my mom's on here, and did a meetup. The first meetup was, I think, three years ago. I was staying with her in Toronto. I'm in the Bay right now. And I think we had maybe 30 people. And that felt huge, like a really big deal. And and then to a moment during the pandemic where I think we had like 400 or 500 here. So it's just been a journey and a ride, especially with these particular calls. And we've gotten a lot of feedback over the years of people appreciating having just like a free space to be sharing ideas and in learning together. And so for this particular group, there's some people that really listen to the podcast a lot, or they're in the training. But for those of you that have been here, I just thank you so much for the way that you've shown up. People that have been here really in a steady way, others that kind of pop in and out. It's been awesome. And my favorite thing is to scroll through and see people's faces. And you will have gotten a sense from what I said, but in the email. But I just have been feeling this call that it's time for a shift for me personally. And I'm hoping that this is going to be in service of the work. And I just didn't want to stay in the role that I've been in out of fear of letting go. I think that's the truth. Out of fear of like money, like will money be okay, and what will I do? But there's been a clear feeling this last, I'd say like 4 to 5 months, where I started to feel that a shift was coming. A couple people close to me are like, "You're having a midlife crisis. Like that's just accept it, just embrace it." My astrology friends tell me that I have Uranus in opposition. That's what's happening right now. But basically, I've had this feeling. I'm like, I'm ready for a big shift, and I think this is going to be in service of the work. So let me just say a couple things about what's happening on my end around it, and then we'll open it up. I love this work. This has been, it feels like the biggest work in my life, and I think it probably will be that unless some big second wave comes. But many of you know that meditation has been a huge part of my life. And I said this in the email, but the whole point of this work was to try to make my own practice and the challenges that I had feel worthwhile. And in the moments with the book, there were some moments that were so hard. And it's not to be dramatic, but it was, I'm up at like 2 a.m. just trying to figure out how to craft this paragraph. And what kept me going inside of it was the feeling that there's a lot of people out there who might have been in a similar place I was, around not totally knowing how to work with trauma in terms of contemplative practice, and who were bringing a huge heart and intention and wanting to heal inside of practice, but there was something that was preventing it. So the whole feeling of this work was, if I can lend one link in the chain to this conversation, that would feel awesome. And what happened was totally unexpected, I think, for Tyler and I both. This felt humble, and that the way that it kind of opened up to a larger community and being in this conversation with you all was really unexpected. And a couple of moments during COVID, the course that some of you know, the online training, that launched right as COVID was starting, or the biggest wave around March or April in 2020. And so there's been this feeling of urgency inside of the work, where it wasn't just a hobby, like, oh, this is something I'm interested in. It felt like so many of you, we were coming to this conversation with a certain urgency of how to take care of people well. And I want to tell you guys that one of my favorite, most moving things about this community is the reflections that we would get from new people who would come to these meetups. And they would often talk about the culture of these meetups. And they'd say people are so present, kind, and supportive of both me and Tyler and other people we've had, but also of each other. Someone asks a question in the chat, there's a lot of resources that come in. I'm so proud of the way that what came together was a community of care to me. And some of you know I have moments where I feel like, we can overcorrect too far to wanting to care for everyone. I think there's a lot of caretakers in the community and people who really have dedicated their lives to caring for others. But man, this has been so meaningful to come together with all of you and just say, how do we care for people well? Not out of an apology, but just to really, in a grounded way, sort out what are the best practices around trauma. So this has just been the most incredible ride and meaningful ride of my life. And the book was lonely. I was living, I'm living a couple miles, I'm staying with a friend in the Bay. It was really lonely. I was by myself in my apartment, and I'm not the greatest writer and needed a lot of help. And it was just a very solitary experience. And where this really started to come to life was when I got to start interacting with all of you. It's why I wanted to do these calls, is like, I don't just want to be speaking into a void. I want the chance to hear, like, what do people think and how are you doing with this? And so these calls have been so meaningful. And that's where things really shifted. It was just not, the book was kind of an opening and a doorway. And then things really started to come alive. I think the really personal thing that I wanted to share with you all here, that I had trouble putting words to this, but I'm going to try to do it here, about why I'm making this shift and why this feels right for me, is see if I can find it. I think the easiest thing to say would be of feeling a certain level of burnout with trauma. That's the kind of top layer. Is it's been 15 years now of being in this conversation around trauma, which is one of the most life-affirming conversations I've ever been in, because to me, it's talking about how we get hurt and how we heal. And what could be more amazing than getting to be hearing people's stories and just be in the deep end. It's been an incredible, I love the topic. And the topic is to be continually orienting my life and having trauma at the center has been challenging at times. And I know that there are many of you here who are working one-to-one with people, or you're doing trauma work, and you know that the kind of path around this. And one of the things I felt that I've struggled with is how to be in the role that I'm in, and hold on to myself in the process. What I mean by that is, and I imagine true for many of you, I feel so impacted by stories and by hearing about trauma. It's like, I think many of you have described this experience in different ways, but I often feel like a sponge. I feel like a kind of like baking soda. And I was seeing Frederick earlier, who we were teaching together, and it was so, I can't think of anything more humbling and meaningful to get to hold a group of people in trauma work. It's amazing. And it's just so intense to be able to do. I know all of you know this from your own work. I could feel the way that the calls would stay with me. There's a lot, I have a pleasing shape where I want to make sure this feels like the work is so high stakes. I never want to screw this up. I want to do the best we absolutely can. And so it's been like had the gas of the stove on and really burning at a certain clip ever since this really opened up with the meetups, and just the amount of emotional, I don't know if labor, but the amount of emotional work that goes into holding it. Then there's also holding the business in the background, which is none of this has been my, I'd say my forte, or like the easiest thing for me, especially the business stuff. You've seen probably my emails. I try to make those emails as authentic as possible, but it's so hard to be like, we have this great course. It's never been, the business stuff has never been my thing. And it's been helpful to have it be livelihood. But I started to feel probably 6 months ago, I was like, wow, I'm starting to feel burnt out. I'm not looking forward to teaching in the same way. And my energy is really dropping. I'm starting to, not dread is a little strong, that's not true, but I just was having to really mobilize a lot of energy and practice a lot to stay present while I was teaching. And then this big moment happened this summer when I got to go to Europe to teach. Two things happened. One is I was getting feedback from people who were organizing. They were like, wow, I really see the way that this work is draining you, that it's amazing for you. And this one person, her name's Mila in Amsterdam, who I really loved working with. And halfway through this day long, she looked at me and she said, you look terrible. I just got to tell you, you look really bad. And I could feel it. I was like, wow, I'm pale. And it came from just trying so hard. I want this to go so well. And it's like, caring so much about just all of you, like making such an effort to um, have shown up in the ways that you have over the years. And so I've been feeling that feeling of like, I'm the caring so much and wanting it to go so well has also had the cost in the community of of challenge. It's been hard. And I've tried really hard. I went to therapy and I have friends where I was like, let me see if I could turn down the caring or kind of back off a little bit from the intensity of it. And I tried and it didn't really work. It's like I think just being in this role just comes with a certain intensity. And it's something that I've taken on and I've loved. And then I could feel my body the last 6 months just saying like, I think it's time for a shift with like the deepest bow, around the work. So that's one thing that happened in Europe, was realizing like, oh, I'm starting to, my body's saying like, hey, it's time for a shift. And then the second thing that happened that I said in the email that was so meaningful is that I got to really take in a visceral way the ways that the work is out there. And I met so many people. I hadn't been with people, I hadn't been here with you all, but it's a certain thing, as you know. On the computer, I close it. I hadn't gotten to have these like side convos with people. I hadn't taught for years because of COVID. And being in Europe and getting to meet people was such a powerful experience of realizing the work is it's, of course, not everyone will integrate it, but a lot of people are. And I'm mindfulness-based stress reduction, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, mindful self-compassion. I was meeting lots of teachers and who were teacher trainers who were saying, this is now like it's in our work. We're just sorting out how to handle it in a moment-to-moment way. And so there started to be a feeling of completion for me, that the thing that I hoped for, which was to really open and start this conversation, it started to feel really complete, which was scary. I was like, well, what does that mean? And who am I if I'm not doing this work? But I started to really entertain the idea of stepping back. And it just kept feeling more and more right over the summer. So that's why you got the email, and that's why we're making the shift. And again, I'll just say one more thing. I wanted to do it in a way that feels really honoring of all of us. And there's nothing wrong, nothing bad happened. It just felt like a natural point of completion. And I'll end with this and then just open up for any questions here. The thing about trauma that has always just drawn me is the way that a natural cycle doesn't get to complete. Some of you know I love this story. There's the story of the Snow Queen, Hans Christian Andersen, this beautiful fairy tale to me, it's a trauma tale because it's talking about this little boy, Gerda, who gets a piece of shard of glass in their eye, and they go, the Snow Queen comes, and it's really a freeze. It's really a deep immobility. And then the whole point of the myth is, well, how do we heal from that freeze or immobility? And what are the ways that we can let that move through our system? And so to me, the ability to be with cycles, especially the last part, especially to be with an ending and a closure in a way that feels healing and not traumatic, but it's just with a deep love and respect. Says endings are happening all the time. Let's be present and show up. That's what I wanted to do here with you all, instead of just waiting and tailing off and suddenly you're not hearing from me. And I just didn't want that. I wanted to just lean in with you all and say, thank you, I love you, and let's end well. And I trust this is going to keep going. There's amazing practitioners here who will keep going in their own way around the work, and I'll be around. I want to keep hearing where it goes. But that's what I wanted to say. So thanks for hearing that. And why don't we open it up? Tyler, if there's anything you want to add, Tyler will have a chance to also say his piece. But yeah, I just want to see if there's any, we'll open up for reflections, but I just want to see if there's any questions about the shift. I want to be accountable around it and transparent. So let me know if there's any questions. You can chat Tyler directly, or you can put it in the chat, and we'll just spend a little bit of time here. And then if there's no questions, we'll move on. But yeah, let's open it up here.
Yeah, thanks, folks. And looking through, feel free to put your questions in the chat. And there's a lot of appreciation, David, for what you've shared here too. So yeah. Peggy Huron, you have a question of curious about what your direction is next. David, Peggy, you want to come on and answer?
Yeah, Peggy, please.
Hi, David.
Hey.
Hi. Wonderful to see you, and thank you so much. Yes, I'm curious about what's next for you. Or are you just open to see what emerges?
Yeah, I really don't know. I do still feel a draw to, like, the topic still interests me on some level, but it's like decentering the trauma piece in a way. But for the moment, I'm privileged enough, I'm going to be couch surfing for the next little bit. So I'm in San Rafael right now in California. I'll go back. I have some family up in Canada, so I'll go stay with them. I was just visiting a friend down in Colombia. So for the moment, I'm getting a chance just to take a breath and have my midlife crisis and not know what's going to happen next. And I really don't know, but I also want to say to all of you here, if you're interested, I'd love to keep in touch. Like, we'll keep the email list, and if I ever something opens up, or I'll be emailing you all. But I'm open to suggestions. People want to send anything my way, but mostly I just want to be quiet for a little bit and read fantasy novels, and of course I'll keep doing a little bit of work, but I really don't know. So
thank you. I wish you well.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Peggy. I appreciate it. Yeah.
DT, maybe we can quickly answer. There's a couple questions, just if the website and the online course will still be available.
Yep. So yeah, we got that. I did some consultation the last couple months when I would ask organizations and stakeholders, like, hey, everyone, I'm thinking of making this shift. What do you think? And what we heard is that people were saying, well, we're going to keep having people training in contemplative practice, so it'd be helpful to have the course up. So we're going to leave the course on Thinkific, so it will be available, and the website's going to stay up as well. And the main shift, and we haven't figured out, but there will be someone who's tending to, emails or refunds or things like that. And then the main shift will be that I'll be pulling back from content generation. So many of you know this. It's like the pressure to be just continuing to have new content and social media, and that's what I'm wanting to pull back from, because it just didn't feel authentic to keep doing it just for the sake of building content. So website will stay up, course will stay up. We're going to do a sale on the course, which I'll talk about at the end. For those of you, we'll do like our biggest sale ever, because we're ending. So that'll all stay up. And the resources, if any of you are in the online training, that's going to stay up. You'll have lifetime access to it. So that'll happen too. Oh, one more thing on that note. The workbook that Pilar and I have been working on, Pilar might be here. We came together, had a lot of conversation, and at my request, we decided to actually not be doing the workbook in an ongoing way with Norton. So I just want to apologize for that. We had been like building it up and saying, okay, this workbook's coming. So what's going to happen instead is that there's going to be a very intensive indexing that's going to happen of the online course, which will be having scripts of practices, because basically we wanted you to have a workbook that had all the scripts and things like that. You know, they're in the training, but we wanted to have it be even more user-friendly. So that's the pivot that's happening. And for those of you, if you haven't gone through the course, we've never refused anyone around the course, like scholarship, pay what you can. So we also have scholarships available. So that resource, we're pivoting from the workbook over to this index, which I'll announce that when it comes out in email, just that will be available to you all. So yeah, Tyler, anything you want to add on that?
No, I think you got it there. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we can go to a hand here. I think first Tara, right? If you to come on here.
Hi, good morning. And it's wonderful to see you. I actually sent you an email, but I think probably you got it when you were getting ready to go online. But I met you last year, and I can't believe it's been 1.5 years through the UCLA TMF program.
Oh, yeah.
And I think then you were heading off to Bali. So I wonder if Bali inspired this beautiful piece in you to make this change. So it's a special place. That being said, I wanted to ask you, we've now been, 2.5 years into a worldwide trauma that occurred with COVID. And I just wondered if you had some wise words of wisdom regarding that kind of trauma. And it not only affected adults, but there's so many children and young adults, kids that have transitioned now into the so-called adult 18 plus going to university. And I see a lot of trauma there.
Yeah.
They're not knowing how to get their feet planted on the ground, so to speak.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I could try to say a couple things. I've had that too, where I've been just talking to a lot of people, especially people who are working with young people, about how this has been for the last couple of years. I just recorded a session for those of you that's going to be connected to the course on this. Like, okay, so what are the challenges and opportunities of the next couple of years, given what's happened in the last couple of years? So most of my thinking will be in this session. If any of you want to see it again, that'll be on the course, or if you can also scholarship if you want to see it. But the headline there is, I think for those of us in contemplative practice, it's right what you said, Tara, is as there's more maybe stability, not for everyone, coming back into a system as it becomes more endemic, I do think that meditation especially will be a place that there will be a lot of unprocessed trauma coming to the surface around the grief, the loss, the moments that were too much, that there wasn't actually the space to feel, and that I think we could and should be prepared that openings will happen that were unintegrated, and to be really prepared for that. So one thing I've been talking about a lot is moral injury, like people that were placed in impossible situations, and finally now they have the chance with some more ground and stability to start to process through. And so the one thing I want to pull for with all of us is that if and when someone we're working with, be it a young person or anyone really, who starts to have traumatic flashbacks or things come up in practice, that's actually great news. As a compliment to you all as teachers, is someone feels safe enough to start to process. And then the whole point of this work is, how do we do well by them, and not just don't go in too much if that's not what's called for. So I think we can expect it and really start to notice, and I don't know how it's going to be, but what was the traumas or what was the stressors that young people in particular faced? And can we start to get really attuned to it so that when they come forward, we can be like, oh, is it like this? That we understand and map it really well. So I think just staying awake to that particular trauma and being a good ground is going to be key. Because I think we were needed during the pandemic, but we're going to be really needed in the 5 years to come, depending on how things go. So that's my high level thinking. What would you add?
Thank you. I think it's being able to allow a human being to know what it is to feel.
Totally.
because I think a numbness occurred over the last 2 years,
Yeah.
and everyone just compartmentalized that.
Absolutely.
So exactly the basis of what your book is and what you're teaching is you're opening up that area
Yeah.
and making sure that people then know what to do with it or what that means. So
Absolutely.
thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks,
your
Tara.
time.
Good to see
So
you.
good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
And look for my email.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks to everyone who sent in emails. That was really meaningful. And I'll just say, for those of you that know this practice, I think like normalizing a freeze, Tara, to your point, that will be huge too, that what's happening for people is completely understandable. So that will be important for us too. Thanks, Tara.
Yeah, thanks all. Keisha, you want next? And oh, also Keisha, to answer your question, yeah, we'll be sending out the chat also, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Keisha.
Hi, David. You can imagine I was completely overwhelmed when I read your message, but I've since embraced it for you, and I am praying for good outcomes. I just wanted to share with you as briefly as I can the difference you made in my life. To be in the community, to feel that level of belonging and safety, and to receive your instruction. I know you didn't tout it as a trauma therapy course, but it opened up so much healing for me. And I'm really doing well in spite of other impossible situations that I still face. To Tara's point, my daughter graduated from high school in 2020. So I was going through the collective trauma with everyone else, my own trauma, and then my daughter's displacement when school just ended and there was not graduation, prom, or any of the normal rites of passages that children have to face to go on to that next level. So it was a lot going on. But I'm here to tell you now that the tools, the toolkits, the nearness to real connecting, safety, and belonging, this was real for me. And I've made great connections in this group that will continue long beyond our work here together. And that includes with you, David. If you're ever in the Raleigh area in North Carolina, I'll put you up. You can stay with me. I've got plenty of space. And I just wanted to say that between COVID, isolation, social unrest around George Floyd, there was so much going on in 2020. And I don't know how I would have made it through if I wasn't in this community. So I send a heartfelt thank you. I will be thinking about you, praying for you for the rest of my life. And you've made that level of impact. And I profess my love to you when I first opened my camera and mic up and the course we took. And I'm saying it again, I love you. I love your work. It has made a tremendous difference, and it's not over. Wherever you go next, whatever you evolve into with your work, you'll still be making a difference. That's the essence of who you are. So thank you.
Thanks, Keisha. Appreciate that. Yeah, really taking that in. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Oh, so sweet. Yeah, let it in, David. Let it in. And so much appreciations in the chat too. I really appreciate that. Well, David, it seems in some ways that I'm not sure all of you have your hands raised if you have questions.
Yeah, right. We didn't yet.
So it's okay if you have questions, but I guess just kind of say we can also pivot to appreciations, David.
Sure, of course. Yeah, whatever's allowed for people. That's great.
Yeah. Right. Great. All right. Laura Wilson, would you like to?
Thank you. Hi, David. I met you at Omega Institute and did your with the Brown University team so many years ago. And that was a really big deal because some major things happened when we were there together, as you might recall. And you created a really beautiful container to hold all of us who were there. And I just want to also mirror some things that have been said about gratitude toward you. It was very courageous to write the book that you wrote. It's courageous for you to be authentic right now and be honest with yourself and us about how you're feeling and where you're going. I just see that so infrequently. And I'm grateful to you for living the truth that you write about. I probably have recommended your book 100 times. So, as you know, you might recall, I'm a writer and I also have a nonprofit, Be Well, Be Here. We teach all kinds of mindful practices, and your book is something that I insist upon our faculty reading. And my graduate program in mindfulness studies at Lesley University also insists that people understand that if you're going to try to lead practice, you have to be responsible and understand what it means to be trauma sensitive in your way. And you're the person who sort of led this before for this. I just think it was a marvelous thing to take that on. And I hope, I know you said it was difficult to write, and as a writer, I hope you do write something else in your life, maybe a memoir, anything, because you have a gift to share so authentically and from the heart. So thank you for your courage. And I do wonder, so will your book continue to be in print? That is my question about, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it will be, unless they decide to pull it from the catalog, but I think so, yeah.
Good. Well, I will continue to tout your wisdom and send your name out into the world with great gratitude for all that you have done for all of us on this planet. So bow to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks for taking that in. Appreciate that. That was a while back. Oh my God. Wow.
Yes, and come visit me in Concord again. Just
Yeah.
like friends, you're welcome. We have room.
Maybe that's what happens. I get to go to Raleigh. I get to, maybe I get to stay with people along the next while. So thanks, everyone.
Oh, appreciating this. Carol Anna McBride, you had chatted in that you would like to share an appreciation. Would you like to come on?
Yeah, hi.
Oh, Carol, one of the
Hi there.
supporters of TSM. Wow.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
I probably need to gather myself a bit, but when I got your message, I smiled and held my heart and I went, yeah, I know that one. I'm at the same place actually for the last couple of years. I just wanted to say something about the sort of this ending, and I think what you've done, and you know this, you've planted seeds and the garden has grown and it will continue to grow, and seeds are given to others. And it's like, it's a bit of an alchemy, and there's something that you're going to go through now that we don't know what it is. And I think it's fabulous because that recognition of, I'm kind of tired and I need to look at this and also acknowledge that we love you and you've done this amazing thing. I mean, I can only say what I first said when I was asked to make a comment, which is, you changed everything. This changed a paradigm that was like, mindfulness was over here, trauma work was over here, and you did this. So man, whatever you do creatively now and with great love, you will move into that next stage, which is post-trauma. In a funny way, it's that kind of, we need you to thrive. We need to thrive. Those of us who do anything on the front end, we really need, I'm thinking of Roshi Joan Halifax's stuff at the edge, like learning our edge states and then going, wait a sec, I can't go too far. And I've gone over the edge many times. So I'm just honoring you for saying, yeah, I felt this. And actually someone said, you look like shit, David. And no, I think it's fabulous. I actually am looking at thinking it's fabulous. And I would love to have a tea and coffee when you're around, but love you and thank you. And you've given something to thousands of people. So God bless.
Thanks, Carol.
Love you.
Thank you too.
You got more in you, DT? This is my nickname for David. A little more appreciation, David?
Oh yeah, sure. I didn't hear you. It was a carpet.
Shelley Murphy, would you like to share?
Yes, I would. Thank you. Oh, David. I was one of those people at the very first meetup with just
wow.
yeah. And the way it has grown. And then I was at a live session in Toronto, and I got a chance to sit beside your mom. Hi, David's mom. It was a full day in Toronto, and then did the first live training with you. You were talking about creating this community, and that you get so many comments about how people feel so held and feel such a sense of belonging. And I'm a faculty member at the University of Toronto. I'm a teacher educator there. And oftentimes I talk with my graduate students and my teacher candidates, and I work with pre-service teachers too. And as educators, which you are, we really create the nervous system of the classroom or the Zoom room or the heartbeat of it. And so those comments about the culture that's been created has come straight from you. You know, Parker Palmer, who many of you will be familiar with, talks about teaching who we are. And you do that. And it's been mentioned before, you're really just, you're so authentic and honest, and it invites us to be the same and to help co-create a community that you're at the lead of. So I want to thank you for that. And thinking about the wheels that your work has. I'm one person, I'm a teacher educator, and I was doing the math this morning. And since learning from you and doing the training in these meetups 3 years ago, I've lost track. I have shared this work. I don't share this work. I'm a mindfulness teacher, and I teach, I'm a trauma-sensitive mindfulness teacher. And I will not go into school boards or work at universities or higher education institutions without saying I'm going to forefront with trauma-sensitive mindfulness. So I've worked with well over 1,500 teacher candidates and teachers. And then I think about the math of that and the number of students. This is over 3 years, the number of students they have worked with and influenced and will continue to work with. And I'm just one person, so it's thousands and thousands. And something I'm most proud of, and I think I wrote you about this, that I've been partnering with some oncology nurses and physicians at Toronto Sick Kids Hospital, and writing and researching and bringing trauma-sensitive mindfulness for children and youth undergoing cancer therapies. And again, I'm just one person. So these are the wheels of your work, and it has changed my life. And I know from comments that I've received from people that I share your work with, from what I've learned, it's changed their lives. So such a deep bow of appreciation and gratitude for your work that I know will live on, and for you modeling what, taking care of yourself, that models it for all of us. So a deep, deep bow of gratitude to you. And I look forward to what's coming next.
Thanks, Shelley. I appreciate that. I remember you sitting by my mom, because my mom and I, that was my first time, I think her first time seeing me teach live. Like, it was a moment for, I think, her and I both to be in a big room of people, and her sensing what the work was. And I remember what you had said some things to her, and we talked about it that night, actually, about like, wow, this has really happened. And so thank you. That means a lot, taking that in. Yeah, thank you. Why don't we take, Tyler, one more, and then I'll talk about like next steps for ongoing resources for all of you here, and then Tyler, you can speak too. How about that?
Yeah, great. Let's see that. Volta, would you like to come on and share?
Hey everyone. Hello, David. My
Hi.
name is Volta, and I'm speaking from Kiev, Ukraine. And I'm new here. I just started your course just a couple days ago, and it's kind of feels a little bit unfortunate, like
Yeah.
discovering about you, but I don't feel like you're leaving. It feels like many of us go through these stages and discovering our new challenges and new opportunities. And I want, on behalf of, I looked through the chat. I'm not sure if other Ukrainian teachers connected today. And on behalf of Ukrainian mindfulness community, I want to express my gratitude for sharing this course with Ukrainian Mindfulness Teachers Association. I want to say thank you to John Kabat-Zinn, who presented you to us in the midst of this crisis when we were on emails and looking for help and assistance in how we can help others. What I discover now by listening to your course is that the work you've done becomes crucial, essential for what we are facing now and what we're going to face in future in our country. I guess trauma was always present, but the amount of suffering and trauma that we're going to face in next years and facing now going to just multiply hugely. And it changes my attitude, my personal attitude to practice. I was pretty much privileged with experiences in my life, no matter how bad it was at some times. I managed to overcome many things without asking for help. And my first traditional Goenka retreat in Vipassana went pretty well. And I came out of my 3 years depression as a bright and happy person. But I've seen people there live in the hole in despair and never discovering practice again, avoiding practice. And I know friends who tried practicing and never get back to that. And yeah, I'm just grateful to you for expanding our abilities of understanding this. Maybe the most important project in human journey, understanding our mind and still bringing it to people who can get re-traumatized and cannot connect in a traditional way or in a way that, like me, for example, it worked for me, didn't work for others. I want it to work for everyone. Thank you so much for your work and good luck on your way and wish you all the best.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I feel like it must be late there in Kiev right now.
No, it's just 8 p.m.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, I'm still glad you came. And God, it's so powerful that you're here. This actually might be a good transition for me to mention about teaching. So I'll be in touch with the association there in Ukraine, and we're going to we'll do a session or two. And so anyway, thanks for your work and thanks for showing up. And I'm glad that it's useful. And yeah, wow, it's so meaningful. God, it's just going to continue, right? This work and trauma will just keep going. So yeah, on that note, for me, I'm going to keep doing little, there's a couple groups that I'll teach with, like UCLA, I'll pop in once a year. The group in Ukraine, for me, it's just sort of sparse moments I'll pop in. And then just to say about where things I think go with the field, I'm in conversation and have been the last couple of years, many of you know, with my leadership at mindfulness-based stress reduction, John Kabat-Zinn rewriting the curriculum and all that's happening there, MBCT, at Bangor especially, mindful self-compassion. So there's a big turn happening, as many of you know, and in the next couple of years, new curriculum will come out, and I think that's just going to continue, and look forward to, I'll keep in touch with, be on like certain leadership boards for that and kind of pull back a little bit. And then in terms of this last moment with you all, we thought it would be just appropriate to like offer the course. Again, as I mentioned, we never turn anyone away. If you need scholarship, we're going to be doing a sale on the course. You'll get an email about that with the recording of the meetup. So if any of you were thinking about it, you want to do the course, you're welcome to take it. We'd love to have you record this new session around like COVID and moving forward. So that'll be coming. And then I guess the last thing is my promise to all of you is because I just get to talk to cool people about this work, if and when things come up that I feel like will be relevant for supporting your work and practice. I'll share it over the email. So if you want to stay on the list, we'd love to have you. So if there's like a course that seems really good, or if there's an article I see that's great, I'm recorded one more podcast, like we'll keep really intermittently just sending out things that I think will support you. And if I have a personal update, like I'm gonna do this work, or I thought about doing, I love restaurants and I miss restaurants. I was thinking about going back to, some kind of work. And so as I get personal updates with you about where I head, I will definitely share it with all of you, or come back and I want to do some resilience work. So please, I'd love to keep in touch with all of you. And this has been so meaningful. I'll go back to this recording many times just to take in what you've shared, and I'll go and I'll read the chat too. So that's where we're headed. We'll keep in touch. And Tyler, I wanted to give time for you. You've been so amazing, both with people one-to-one here and also here on meetups. But what do you want to share as we move towards closing?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity, David. Shift from Zoom tech to real self, I guess. Yeah, it's just been so meaningful to be with you all over these past. It's been like 3.5 years that I've been doing the TSM project with David, and everything from your just trust and writing in and sharing some about yourself, and being able to support you. Like it's really meaningful for me. This is kind of where I've found myself in life, is being able to be a ground and infrastructure for what I feel are teachings that are needed in the world, like TSM. So thank you for the opportunity to be able to do that. And also, I'm just really grateful to the work generally. I'm also a somatic coach, and I use mindfulness in the work that I do. And so bringing these trauma-sensitive practices have really deepened my own work. So thank you, David, of course, for bringing this work up. And I've learned so much from all of you, from your questions in the community. So really grateful. And, I'm glad we have this chance to complete. And, David, just want to say live with everyone, like, it's been so fun working with you. Like the two of us, we get to have fun in the background. And it's also just been one of, if not the most supportive work environment that I found myself in, where I feel like we're teaming and you're leading and making space for my own leadership and lifting me up. And so I'm really grateful for that, and wistful that that it's going to come to an end, and also just grateful for the time we have together, and excited for what comes next for you. And thank you all for carrying the work forward, carrying TSM to its next phase. Yeah, I'm grateful.
Tyler, I'm looking forward to some of your homemade wine. That's what I'm waiting for. Tyler crushes his own grapes, so he's promised me we get to have.
We'll try that. If you're in Oakland, let me know.
Come and can bottle of wine together. So thanks, Tyler. Appreciate it. Why don't we end with practice as a way to complete and to end well together. So we'll just take a minute here, invite you to have your eyes open or closed. And just taking a moment to pause together in what's been said, what's been shared, feeling the impact, feeling how you are in this moment. If there's any gratitude that you'd like to share or to send to yourself here for the time, the energy, and the commitment that you've had on these calls or in this work, just directing that to yourself. It could be a hand on the heart or the belly. If there's any people here in the community that you'd like to extend this appreciation or gratitude towards, people that have touched you or that you've connected with or learned from, just taking a moment to extend to them as well. And then extending that gratitude and appreciation outward to any people, any communities that you'd like to send this to. And then finally, just taking a moment to acknowledge and recognize this completion. With trauma, we're often robbed of that feeling of completion, but we can use mindfulness to do it well with ourselves in conscious ways. So whatever's here for you, whatever emotions, appreciations, just making room for that and really acknowledging here that we're going to end together. We're going to do that well. Knowing that the work, the path, it will continue past here. And then in the next few breaths, you can let that go, and we will come back here. And we're just 1 minute over. I tried to land right at 10, but thanks everyone. Thank you for being here. We're gonna end here. Deep bow, deep appreciation. I'll never forget this call and these times together. I look forward to seeing and meeting others of you at different times on our path. But good luck, go well. You're needed. We're definitely needed. We talked about in this call. And we'll see you in the coming, whatever's next. We'll see you whatever's next. And you can unmute yourself. That's what we've been doing every time. So please unmute yourself. We'll say goodbye and we'll end here.
Goodbye.
Thank you, David.
Everybody.
Much love to you.
Good.
David.
Bye.
But take good care of yourself.